So, you know that classic movie trope, right?
Yeah, huh?
The protagonist has this huge dream, a vision. Maybe they want to start a community center or, I don't know, launch a nonprofit overseas.
The montage
The
sequence.
montage sequence, yes, exactly. You see the hammer swinging, checks being signed, all these smiling volunteers. It's that field of dreams logic.
If you build it, they will come.
Or, maybe more for this topic, if you're called to do it, the universe or God will just magically pave the road.
It's a beautiful sentiment. It's also statistically disastrous.
Disastrous. Wow. That's a strong way to open.
It is, but we have to be honest here. We're diving into a really comprehensive guide on mobilizing resources. And, well, the source material doesn't pull any punches.
Okay.
It starts with this premise that might make some of you listening a bit uncomfortable. That says the greatest obstacle to a mission isn't a lack of passion.
Right.
It's not a lack of vision. It's not even a lack of people willing to, go. We share.
Fire.
We have the people. What's missing? Preparation. Specifically, the mobilization of resources.
Yeah.
The source actually calls this the silent problem.
The silent problem.
Yeah. We love to romanticize why a mission fails.
Mm-hmm.
We say, oh, the spiritual warfare was too intense, or the culture wasn't ready. But this research suggests that, more often than not, it failed because the supply line was never built.
That feels almost mundane. Like you're telling me this grand world-changing vision just collapsed because of bad bookkeeping.
Or it's a lack of insurance.
Hmm.
Or burnout because you had 3 people trying to do the work of 20. The source puts it this way. Calling without capacity is just a recipe for trauma.
Calling without capacity is a recipe for trauma. Okay, we have to unpack that.
We do.
Because I think a lot of people, myself included sometimes, assume that if the why is big enough, the how will just sort of take care of itself.
And that's the exact assumption we are going to dismantle today. We're looking at 3 tillers: financial, spiritual, and specifically prayer and logistical. But before we get anywhere near the spreadsheets, we have to deal with the theology.
Right. If your mindset is wrong, the budget doesn't stand a chance.
Precisely.
The source calls this the shift from ownership to stewardship. Now, I've read this my whole life, God owns it all. It can feel like a bit of a cliche.
It can.
Does the text add anything new here?
It goes so much deeper than the bumper sticker. I mean, it references Psalm 24, the earth is the Lord's, sure, but it applies that to the psychological state of the leader.
How so?
If you believe you own the mission, then a lack of funds is a personal failure. It makes you panic. It creates this scarcity mindset.
Which would lead to hoarding, right? If I think it's all on me to provide, I'm going to clutch every penny I have.
Exactly. The source contrasts that scarcity mindset, which is always asking, do I have enough, with what it calls an alignment mindset.
Okay, an alignment mindset.
Which asks a totally different question. What has God already provided, and how do I move it to where it's needed? And this leads to, I think, one of the most provocative claims in the whole text.
Which is?
Abundance precedes assignment.
Meaning?
Meaning, God rarely assigns a task without having already placed the resources needed to complete it somewhere in your world.
I'm going to push back on that a little bit because I know plenty of people with a massive vision and, a totally empty bank account.
Yeah.
It doesn't feel like abundance comes first. It feels like the assignment is here, but the abundance is very late to the party.
And that's the feeling. Absolutely. But the source would argue that the abundance is often there, just not in the form we expect. Or we haven't done the work to mobilize it yet.
Okay.
Look at the examples it uses. Abraham was blessed to be a blessing. The early church in Acts, the text says there were no needy persons among them.
Right, because they sold land and shared everything.
Yes, the resources were already in the room. They just had to be mobilized. If you start seeing yourself as a resource mobilizer instead of a beggar, it changes everything. You aren't asking for a favor. You're inviting someone to align their resources with a divine purpose.
It's more of a scavenger hunt than a plea for help.
In a way, yeah. But there's this huge blockage that stops people from seeing this. The source calls it the silent hierarchy.
Oh, this part really stood out to me. The idea that we have spiritual jobs and secular jobs inside the mission itself.
We all know it, even if we don't say it. The person preaching on stage, the missionary digging a well, that's ministry, with a capital M.
And the person balancing the books or booking the flights, that's just admin.
It's the necessary evil, the tax you pay to do the real work.
Yeah.
And the source just completely destroys that dichotomy. It brings up Bezalel from the book of Exodus. Do you remember his story?
Vaguely. He was the craftsman, right? Built the Ark of the Covenant.
He was the chief artisan for the entire tabernacle.
Oh.
And the text points out that God says, I have filled him with the Spirit of God, with wisdom, with understanding. To do what? To preach.
No.
No. To cut stones. To work in gold and silver. To be an excellent craftsman.
So the argument is that technical excellence is a spiritual gift.
It's not just a gift. It's an act of worship. And if you believe in that silent hierarchy, you treat your logistics people like second-class citizens. And guess what? You get bad logistics. And bad logistics will kill your mission faster than anything.
Okay, I love that. Excellence in a spreadsheet is a form of worship. So let's talk about the thing that makes everyone sweat. Pillar 1, finance.
Money.
The source tries to reframe fundraising, but asking for money is just, it's awkward. It feels so transactional.
Totally. I give you $20, you stop emailing me.
Right. How does the source actually get us past that?
By completely changing the definition of the relationship. It argues we have to move from transaction to covenant.
Covenant is a heavy word. What does that actually look like?
Well, a transaction is about a transfer of goods. I give money, you do the good work. We're separate entities. A covenant is about shared ownership. The source uses the Apostle Paul in the Philippians as a prime example. He didn't call them donors.
What did he call them?
Partners in grace.
Partners. That implies they have skin in the game.
It implies that the credit for the work, the victory, it goes to them as well. The text highlights Hudson Taylor, founder of the China Inland Mission. And this is a fascinating case study in mobilizing versus just asking.
He's the guy who famously never asked for money, right?
Publicly, that's the story, yes. But the source adds a lot of nuance. He didn't just sit in a room and pray for cash to fall through the ceiling. He built massive relational networks. He communicated his vision with such clarity and built such deep spiritual partnerships that the money just followed.
So it wasn't a passive strategy at all. It was a deeply relational one.
Exactly. And it all relies on one rule that the source just hammers home again and again. Clarity precedes generosity.
Clarity precedes generosity. I highlighted that one because I think so many people are vague because they're afraid to commit.
Or they think being vague somehow sounds more spiritual.
Mm.
You know, we're just going to trust the Lord to lead us. But look at Nehemiah. When he went to rebuild the wall of Jerusalem, he didn't just say, I have a burden for my city.
No, he had a whole project plan.
He had a pitch deck. He said, the wall is broken, here's the scope, here's the timeline, here's the opposition we're going to face. And because the request was so specific, the king gave him everything he needed.
So if you're asking people to give to a general idea,
Yeah.
you're actually disrespecting their own stewardship.
You are. You have to tell them who's being served,
Yeah.
how the money will be used, and what the outcome will be. Clarity is kindness.
Okay, so we have the money, we're clear, we're covenantal. Now for pillar 2, and this is where I think this deep dive gets really interesting, it takes something we usually treat as, well, as fluffy, and it makes it structural. Prayer.
Pillar 2, prayer as strategic infrastructure.
Yeah, see, usually prayer is just the bookend. You pray to open the meeting, you pray to close it, and then you do the real work in between.
Which the source argues is a fatal error. It uses this amazing military analogy. Prayer isn't the morale booster for the troops.
What is it?
It's the supply line.
Oh, I like that. Amateurs talk strategy, professionals talk logistics.
Exactly. In a war, if your supply line is cut, if you can't get intel, food, ammunition, the front line collapses, period. The source argues that prayer provides the spiritual intel, the protection, the resources required to operate. But here's the key. It demands we move from goodwill to strategy.
Goodwill being, I'll be thinking of you.
Thoughts and prayers. It's vague. It's nice, but it's not mobilizing anything. The source suggests you have to treat your prayer partners like investors. You need specific commitments.
So, like, can you commit to praying for 15 minutes every Tuesday morning?
Yes. 15 minutes of focused, targeted intercession is worth more than a lifetime of vague thinking of yous. And you have to give them targets, not pray for the mission. It's pray for the visa interview happening on Thursday at 2 p.m.
Pray for the safety of this specific truck on this specific route.
Exactly.
But if you have, I don't know, 100 people praying, how do you manage all that? It sounds like a ton of admin work.
It is admin work. That's the point. It requires what the source calls the feedback loop. This is the crucial mechanic. If you ask for specific prayer, you must report the result.
You have to close the loop.
You have to. If you ask people to pray for that visa, and you get the visa, and then you never tell them, you've just fired them from the team. You've treated them like a spiritual vending machine.
Wow, yeah.
But if you send that email update, we got the visa, thank you for standing with us.
Yeah.
Suddenly, that person isn't just a supporter. They are a co-laborer. They feel that victory because they help secure it.
It turns the prayer partner into a true insider. Okay, I see how that builds momentum. But let's pivot to the third pillar, which I think this is the hardest sell for the super spiritual crowd.
Logistics.
The ministry behind the ministry. We're talking travel insurance, risk assessments, protocols,
The boring stuff.
the very boring stuff.
The essential stuff. The source frames this so beautifully. Logistics is spiritual stewardship because it is about protecting people made in God's image.
That is a heavy reframe. It's
Yeah.
not paperwork, it's people protection.
Think about it. If you send a team into a volatile region without a medical evacuation plan, without proper visas, without a clear chain of command, are you acting in faith?
Well, the classic faith argument would be God will protect us.
But the source quotes Proverbs 22.3. The prudent see danger and take refuge. Ignoring reality isn't faith, it's presumption. Creating contingency plans is an act of wisdom.
So having a plan B isn't a lack of trust in God.
Not at all. It's actually recognizing the immense value of the lives entrusted to your care. The source gets really granular on risk assessment. It suggests you categorize your risks: medical, political, reputational.
Reputational risk is an interesting one.
Huge. What's the plan if a team member acts inappropriately? What happens if funds are mismanaged? That can damage the public witness of the mission for years. Good logistics anticipates these failures and has a plan.
This also gets into what the source calls cultural humility.
This is so important. Logistics isn't just moving bodies from point A to point B, it's entering spaces. And the source warns against the sheer arrogance of imposing norms.
Give me an example of what that bad logistics looks like.
Oh, it's the team that shows up expecting American-style efficiency in a culture that values relationship over a deadline. Or the team that doesn't bother to research local dress codes and immediately offends the very community leaders they're trying to reach.
Right.
Good logistics involves deep research. It means asking, how do we enter this space honorably? If you don't do that homework, you are actively working against your own mission.
So preparation is a form of respect.
Yes.
Okay, we've got the three pillars: financial partnership, strategic prayer, and logistical stewardship. The source ends with a warning about time, distinguishing between episodic and enduring mission.
And this brings us right back to the beginning. Most missions are built for a sprint, not a marathon. They burn out. The source points to the Moravians as an example.
I feel like every time we talk about mission history, the Moravians come up.
And for good reason. In the 1700s, they created a support structure that was just unheard of. They didn't just send out missionaries. They sent entire support communities with them. Merchants, craftsmen, farmers, they're all mobilized to sustain the work. They understood that for the gospel to go, the business must stay.
They industrialized their support system.
They built an entire ecosystem. And a key part of that ecosystem was radical transparency, especially with money. The source talks about the moral weight of the balance sheet.
How you manage money as a public witness. That part is a little scary.
It is. If you're preaching truth, but your accounting is deceptive, you're a hypocrite. If you're preaching order, but your administration is pure chaos, you completely undermine your own message.
So bad math is actually bad theology.
In this context, absolutely. Transparency builds trust. Secrecy destroys it. The source advises open books, clear audits, and radical accountability, not just to the government, but to your partners.
It really feels like the big theme here is that we have to stop seeing the mobilizers, the admins, the givers, the prayer warriors as the B team.
That is the core identity shift of the whole guide. We have glorified the goers. We put their photos on our refrigerators. But the mobilizers are the engine. Without them, the car doesn't even move.
Yeah.
We have to elevate the role of mobilizer to be equal in spiritual weight to the missionary.
It really democratizes the whole thing. You don't have to sell your house and move to the jungle to be critical to the mission.
No.
You can be the person ensuring the visa paperwork is flawless, and that is your powerful act of worship.
And frankly, without you, the person in the jungle is coming home in a month, completely burned out.
So for the listener who's maybe sitting on a skill set, maybe they're amazing at Excel or project management, or they just have a network of friends they could rally, what is the big takeaway?
The source leaves us with a really provocative question. And I'd ask you, listening, to really sit with this for a minute.
Hit us with it.
Who has God already placed around you to support this mission that you haven't invited yet because you've labeled them as not enough?
Oof, that's good. We look at someone and think, well, they're not a pastor, or they don't have $1 million to give.
But they might have the administrative gift that saves your entire project from collapsing. Or the prayer stamina to break through a spiritual wall you've been hitting for years. The abundance is usually there. We just have to have the eyes to see it and the humility to ask.
So stop waiting for the magic check to show up in the mail. Look around. The resources are likely already in the room.
Build the supply line. Then you can take the hill.
I love that. Thanks for helping us unpack this. It's definitely changed how I look at my calendar and my bank account.
It's been a real pleasure.
And to you listening, thanks for diving deep with us. We'll catch you on the next one.